Federal Judge Angel Kelley orders restoration of national park exhibits removed under Trump directive. Boston, June 13, 2026. In a significant ruling that could reshape the national debate over how American history is presented on public lands, U.S. District Judge Angel Kelley has ordered the Trump administration to restore historical and scientific exhibits that were removed from national parks and monuments across the country. The preliminary injunction, issued Friday in federal court in Boston, requires the Department of the Interior and the National Park Service to reinstall signs, displays, and interpretive materials that address topics including slavery, civil rights, climate change, indigenous history, and the experiences of diverse communities. The government has been given 21 days to restore the materials and is prohibited from making further alterations while the lawsuit proceeds. The case was brought by a coalition of organizations, including the National Parks Conservation Association, the American Association for State and Local History, the Association of National Park Rangers, and several other groups. The plaintiffs argued that the administration's actions amounted to censorship and violated federal laws governing how national parks are managed and interpreted for the public. At the center of the dispute is a March 2025 executive order signed by President Donald Trump that directed federal agencies to eliminate what the administration described as a false revision of history. The order instructed officials to review exhibits, memorials, and educational materials that, according to the White House, portrayed the United States as fundamentally racist or oppressive. Following the directive, National Park Service staff removed or altered dozens of exhibits and signs at parks nationwide. Among the materials affected were exhibits discussing George Washington's ownership of enslaved people at Independence National Historical Park in Philadelphia, displays related to climate change impacts at coastal parks, and interpretive content highlighting the contributions and struggles of indigenous peoples, civil rights activists, and other historically marginalized groups. In a sharply worded opinion, Judge Kelley concluded that the government's actions likely violated multiple federal statutes, including the National Park Service Organic Act and other laws requiring the agency to preserve and accurately interpret the nation's natural and historical resources. She wrote that presenting only selected portions of history undermines the educational mission of national parks and deprives visitors of a complete understanding of the American story. History cannot be faithfully told while excluding the experiences of communities whose contributions, struggles, and achievements form an important part of our nation's story, Kelley wrote in the ruling. She further warned that removing historical context that does not align with the preferred political narrative creates a dangerous precedent for public institutions responsible for preserving historical truth. The judge's order requires federal officials not only to restore exhibits removed since May 2025, but also to submit regular compliance reports detailing the steps being taken to return the materials to their previous condition. Court filings indicate that the restoration effort will be closely monitored as the litigation moves forward. Advocacy groups that brought the lawsuit hailed the decision as a major victory for historical preservation and public education. They argued that national parks serve as some of the country's most important educational institutions and that visitors deserve access to complete and accurate historical information, even when aspects of that history are difficult or controversial. Supporters of the administration, however, contend that the executive order was intended to correct what they view as politically motivated interpretations of American history. Administration officials have argued that some exhibits emphasize negative aspects of the nation's past at the expense of broader achievements and accomplishments. The Interior Department criticized the ruling and indicated it is reviewing legal options, including a potential appeal. Legal experts say the case could have far-reaching implications beyond the National Park Service. The ruling raises broader questions about the authority of presidential administrations to shape historical narratives in federally managed museums, memorials, monuments, and educational institutions. If upheld on appeal, the decision could establish important limits on how future administrations alter historical and scientific content in public spaces. The decision arrives as the United States approaches the 250th anniversary of its founding in 2026, a milestone that has intensified national conversations about how the country's history should be remembered and taught. Judge Kelley emphasized that commemorating the nation's achievements does not require ignoring its failures, and that a full accounting of American history strengthens rather than weakens public understanding of the country's development. For now, the ruling means visitors to national parks may soon see the return of exhibits and educational materials that had disappeared over the past year. Whether the restoration becomes permanent will likely depend on future court proceedings and any appeals that may follow, setting the stage for a closely watched legal battle over history, public memory, and the role of government in shaping national narratives. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.